Just a fool, I thought I knew you act different when you pop too. I hope these words get through to you. I hope these words get through to you.
YouTube, man. Defi-Kingdoms. Okay. What's up, guys? Dfk here, and today we're back with another video. Now, today I'm going to show you guys an interesting find that I've just kind of noticed now with the recent spike and sweep of the Gen0 floor, right? So if you go over here, the Gen0 floor is 57.8k crystal, right? The highest it has ever been in Defi-Kingdoms that I've noticed. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. I've never seen it this high, and the reason is because our token price is the lowest it's ever been at 0.034 crystal, right? So when we look at that, right, we take a look at that and we basically see, okay, 57,000 crystal is a lot of crystal in the game, especially when you consider other things haven't pretty much, the only thing that's kind of accounted for that is Gen0s, right? When you go to the floor of a regular floor hero, they haven't basically accounted to the USD value and basically rose to like 60 plus crystal, and then the Gen 1 10 out of 10 market hasn't basically accounted and rose. It's just been falling in USD value, right? But Gen0s have an interesting trend to where even if crystal falls or if crystal goes up, Gen0s tend to trade around $2,000 at the low end, right? And they tend to hover around that area. So that's what I've noticed. And so since crystal's going down, if crystal potentially, let's just say worst case scenario, would go down even more, Gen0 in crystal value will keep going up, most likely, because it has traded around $2,000 over time, right? Sometimes it gets down to as low as I've seen $1,850, but for the most part, it's going to trade around that $2,000 range, right? On the low end. High end, we've seen it go in the last raffle event as much, when the Gen0 was released from the last raffle event, as much as like 3,500. But yeah, so this is an interesting find, because if you compare this to the floor hero price, you can now get about 1,000 floor heroes for the price of a Gen0. And even when you go to fishing and foragers, right? So you can get around 1,000 floor heroes for the price of a Gen0, which has never been able to be done before. Before, you were only able to get about 400 to 500, and so it was hard to justify the benefit of a floor hero versus a Gen0, because the Gen0 is also more liquid. Now, I have some notes here that I'm gonna go over. Hopefully this is zoomed in so you guys can see. I have some notes here, and I have some math, and I have my right here Vex Quest Hall 1118 start. This is my start. It is a little junky on my spreadsheet, right? On this spreadsheet, it is junky, but I'm going to go over it in a minute after I just go over here. It's like some base numbers. It is junky because it also has, my quest haul from 1118 when I started, but it also has like ideas and brainstorms and some profit and like profit loss, like plans that I did along the way on the right side, and I call it takeaways. And I never really expected to put a video out like this. I had sent this spreadsheet to a couple of, my guys that were doing the same method, and a couple of people that asked, but I never expected to do a video like this. So it is not organized, and I just said, instead of organize it, I guess I'll just show you guys, because there's a lot of rough mistakes on there, but it does have the numbers mapped out from November to now April. So the great debate, Gen0 versus 1,000 floor heroes. Now we'll take a look at the exact crystal price, which is around 0.3454, and the tier price is around almost 1 cent, right? So we'll take a look at this, right? And right now, if you go into the tavern, as we just saw, Gen0 floor is 57.8k. That translates to about 0.354, 0.346. This is a little bit more because I did the math earlier right before this video to get this notes down. Translates to about 19.99 USD, right? Probably about 19.90 now if you do the 0.3454. But if you look at that, that's around 2,000 USD, right? The floor for a floor hero is 44. Fishers and foragers around 61ish, right? You can see 61, most of them is around 63, 65, and then it goes up to 65, holds a lot around 65. It's going to be hard to get them and sweep them, right? So now if we take a look at this again, you're going to see that the floor hero value for a gardener and miner, those are usually the ones that's on the floor, is about $1.52, right? And the floor hero value for a forager and fisher is about $2.11. Let me see how I'm doing on time. 5 minutes. Okay. Now, for the first time ever, roughly one Gen0 will get you about 1,000 floor heroes, right? And from an ROI perspective, let's just go over this ROI perspective, right? Every 72 hours, right? Let's pull out the calculator, right? Every 72 hours, you can basically summon if you're doing it at peak efficiency. But we're going to go over peak efficiency for the sake of this video, right? For even the floor heroes, even the questers, right? So that's 10 summons per month, right? Or every 72 hours, right? 10 summons per month, right? And after I calculated the higher fee on serendale and I calculated the summon fee. So, but I'll show you guys for the sake of the video as well. Let me go to Clayton real quick. So the higher fee, Clayton. Why is it not taking me to Clayton? Sorry about that. I'll show you guys this right here, portal. So if you go to Gen0, the higher fee for a Gen, why is this? Oh, I need to, okay. The higher fee for a Gen0, oh, it's 90. It's actually 90. It was 120 earlier. It's actually 90 right now and 110 right now. And it was 120 earlier. Well, earlier I was looking at these two, the wizard and archer. So even though it says 90, I guess, man, it was literally, I literally did this 30 minutes ago or 40 minutes ago when I did my notes. So for the sake of this video, I'll do 120 because that's how much I've been seeing it at. I know people have said the average was 110, but so I'll just go over 120, right? So 120 plus 30 summon is 150 plus another 30 for the summoning fee is about 180 jade, right? Now that's about 124 crystal when you translate it. And for the sake of this video, right, we're gonna assume and give the benefit of the doubt that you're gonna pull legendary Gen 1 10 out of 10 every single time, a basic, right? This for the sake of this video. Obviously that's not going to happen every single time, but just for the sake of this video, you'll probably pull some advanced, you'll probably pull some rares, some uncommons, some commons, some advanced, you know what I'm saying, maybe an advanced legendary, but we're just going to give the benefit of the doubt because that seems pretty fair that you're going to pull 350C every single 3 days just for the benefit of the doubt of the video, right? So after you subtract the 124C from the renting, this is with one Gen0. You're going to net about 246 crystal profit, right? After you sell, because the Gen 1 10 out of 10 legendary floor is 370, right? But we're just saying you're getting about 250 crystal per summon. So after you do 10 summons in a month, you're going to get about 2,460 crystal, almost 2,500 crystal, which is pretty solid ROI, right? And if you do the math, right, 2460 times, let's say 24 months, 2 years, that's about what? Yeah, 2460 times 2 years, so about 2 years ROI, not 2.4. So about 2 years ROI, right? Which is pretty good for a Gen0. You're gonna get 2 years ROI, and if you were to start today, you could pretty much resell the Gen0 tomorrow for around the same price, around 2,000 USD. If you were, because I think Gen0s have hit around a low. I think the lowest they probably go is maybe 1750, because I've seen it around 1850 before, maybe 1750, but they're around a low point, and you could always resell them. So that's a pretty good that's pretty good. You can resell it, you can profit. You know what I'm saying? You can profit for 6 months and then resell the Gen0, and you could do a bunch of things with a Gen0. That's the beauty of the Gen0s, right? Now, pros, I have the pros right here. You can resell your Gen0, right? Very low listing count. This is also very bullish because if you notice in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, there's been way more Gen0 sales. A lot of people have been buying them. I think a total of like 12 plus have been swept. I'll look right here. So this is a trick. You can go in, you can go check the tavern sales, and you can basically check what is sold. This guy Jerry, he was into the Gen dungeon. He actually lost his Gen0. Unfortunately, he listed it by accident at a wrong price. But if you can see, there's a lot of Gen0 sales in the last 2 weeks. A lot, like much more than I've noticed, which is a very bullish thing because the listings have gone tremendously down. Like about a month ago there was about 55 listed, and now there's only 27 listed. So that is very bullish for Gen Zeros. I am not anti Gen Zeros. So that is a very good thing. I just track a lot of stats, right? Because I'm always paying attention to the tavern. But if you go to floor heroes, right? Also, okay, this is another takeaway that I wanted to have, right, from this side. Is pretty much that the bullish upside with Gen Zeros is that in a bull market, there's a potential for 5 to 10x on them, right? And like an extreme bull, I say 5x. I know people have like 10x's and 15x and 20x. My bull case for Gen Zeros is 10,000 USD. All right. But there's also a bull case that nobody has started yet. But I've always feared this when I was just Gen 1 farming. And it was like, what if all the Gen 0 holders basically banded together and just all listed Gen 1s for like 500 crystal a pop? Obviously not everybody's gonna do it, but people will, when they list it, they'll see if you have, the game is small. It's much easier to get into contact with people now than it was before, because niche community, everybody's on podcasts, everybody does their podcasts, their videos, and everything's kind of more condensed even on Twitter. So if people actually banded together, I know BrownJet had talked about like a Gen 0 banding together, but it's never been done yet, and the game has been out for like 2 years. But about 2 years, like a year and a half. But if something like this were to happen, right, this would be scary, because then it basically makes breeding very expensive, and it makes Gen Zero's price could basically skyrocket. Now I know somebody else has talked about that on Twitter before, and they talked about like, yo, what if everybody just doesn't list their Gen Zeros? What will happen? Now that could potentially happen, and that is a very, very high bull case for Gen Zeros, because there's only 4,000 ever going to be made. I'm pretty sure that's the number. Now let's get into floor hero ROI. Right now I'm at about 11 minutes, and this is just talking. I'm not showing much here. Just showing a little bit of calculators because I did this, but floor hero ROI is insane. Now when I say insane, it's pretty interesting, because if you go back to last year, around the same time last year, Christian Peter did a video talking about the APRs of floor heroes being upwards of 400% APR. And people were, you know what I'm saying, even if you look at the comments, people were skeptical, like that's not true. But at the time, it was. Floor heroes are still the most profitable, like in terms of APR, and it's even more profitable now because they are so cheap. So because floor heroes are $1.52 USD in 2011, I think floors can hit a bottom of like maybe $1, even less though. But all right, so there's a negative case to floor heroes as well, right? I'm gonna get into the numbers real quick, but floor heroes have trended down in terms of USD price because they relatively stay around 40 crystal, right? They're not gonna, because of Gen 1 profit from summoning Gen 1s, right? So if crystal goes lower, floor heroes will keep going lower in terms of USD value. That is also a negative case to floor heroes. However, the floor hero benefit is crazy, because if you look at it, so from my data, right, I get about 0.9 tiers per hero per day. So basically around 900 tiers per week for 1,000 floor heroes. I have around 1,000 floor heroes right now, and that's 900 per day. That's around 6.3K per week, right? So if we go and we do the math on that, 6.3K tiers per week, just tiers alone, not even counting the eggs and everything. 6.3K tiers. That is about 722 crystal just off of tiers alone every single week that I'm getting, not counting all my other loot hauls. So I have about 926 tiers. That's about what I got in a day, just around that. And this is what I have as a quest haul, right? I track everything by the week, and I'll go into that right here in a second. But that's just 1,720 C worth of tiers just in a week. So if you multiply that by 4, that means the monthly return on tiers alone is 6,880 C. So 1722 times 4, 6,888, 6,880 crystal just a month on tiers alone. That is astronomical. That is nearly 3 times as much as Gen 0, as one Gen 0. Now, and that's not even counting the eggs that you get. 1,000 floor heroes bring you about 25 eggs a week as well. 25 eggs, and about 600 crystal worth of other items. About 400 crystal worth of other items and 25 eggs. That gives you about another 300 crystal worth of items. I'll show it in the spreadsheet. Now, just the tiers alone is pretty insane. Now, you might say there's some counter arguments like, yo, tiers is just expensive now. They haven't been expensive before. Now, I'm going to show you a chart that's going to probably scare you, but not scare you, but more like, wow. So November, I started my Floor Hero jobbers in November. Shout out to Cyrus. He's the main person that started. He was talking about floor heroes and their profit in hero discussion. This was around the first raffle event. It was around when Dark Summoning came out. That's when it first happened. And then, so he was talking about how tiers have been very profitable, how he just started a floor hero army selling tiers. And I was just like, yo, like, hey bro, can you give me some info on how you did that? And he's just like, okay, I'll give you some info. And he gave me everything. So shout out Cyrus. I think he's in Primetime Guild. He always hangs out in there. So shout out Cyrus. If you know what I'm saying, if it wasn't for you, I would have never learned this strategy or profited. Gave me a bunch of information. It was just like, yo, it's the best thing since sliced bread, pretty much. And I'm like, okay. So I'm always learning from everybody, man, and I'm always willing to reach out and try to learn. So if you go back, Crystal around this time in November was around 15 cents. So around 3 cents. So it's dropped by a multiple about five times, right? Now if you go to tiers back in November, right, where I started around here, was about 0.04, so almost a half a cent. It's almost about a cent right now. It's about a cent right now, and it shows about almost a half a cent. But if you go back around December, it's around the same price it is now. So tiers have stayed the same price in the last 5 months, which is pretty crazy, right? So it's like, I know you might say, okay, well, that's how much tiers are bringing in now. What happens when tiers are what happens in 6 months? Because the ROI for a floor hero is about 6 months, right? It's like tiers have held strong for the past 5 months, almost 6 months. I think they're going to hold strong for the past 6 months again. They have held strong around a penny for the past 6 months, 0.009. About a penny for the past 6 months, 5 months. So I know there is bullish cases and upside for tiers, but I don't think that tiers are going to be the thing that goes to a super high. But tiers are going to hold if Crystal and Jade goes very low. So in theory, tiers are basically doing a 3x, 4x, 5x, because in comparative to their crystal value, one tier is almost a third of crystal right now. And before, one tier was like a seventh of crystal, right? So technically tiers have kind of done a 3, 4, 5x. If you think of crystal has been trending down 5x, right? A negative 5x, right? I don't know the exact, I'm not good at those, you know what I'm saying, those terms, but yeah. And you look at tiers, and tiers have held right since December, right? And we'll go to December. So tier from December, right? And tiers have held. That's pretty much done a 5x, right? Not exactly, right, if when you really think about it. But yeah. So now my mic started basically chopping up, so the audio for the rest of the video is really messed up. So I'm gonna have to do a transcript and try to voice over the video. Now we'll go and we'll show the spreadsheet off. Basically, the takeaways is your ROI is about 8 months for 1,000 floor heroes, right? That's your ROI. And just off of tiers alone, the 1,720 tiers per week. Now added in the other loot, it's about 6 months. And there's other takeaways, not financial advice. And also, I just wanted to mention that Christian Peter did a video about this about a year ago. So I was just watching it, so it's kind of funny that history tends to repeat itself. So that's pretty interesting. If you guys want to go check it out, the APR is even higher last year. But yeah. So now we'll go into my spreadsheet. Now, this spreadsheet is all over the place. And I know what you guys are going to say. Yeah, I'm not the biggest organizer. I'm not, man. This was never intended to be a video. I usually track stuff. When I track stuff, I track it via Notepad. I track stuff roughly. But I actually tracked this from the beginning for the last 5 months when I first started this Floor Hero wallet. Now, usually I track Notepad stuff, but I actually did a pretty good job trying to get the most accurate as possible. Maybe 10 to 15% inaccuracies under, and that's due to the lack of bots working. And yeah, so this is what I pretty much tracked. As you can see, shout out to Cyrus. I basically started it with 80 heroes in the beginning, and I linked it to a couple of people, so this was never intended to be out. That's why there's a bunch of takeaways on the right side and just a bunch of random stuff, and it's not organized. And you could even see like week 6, I'm like, okay, this is a insane amount. At week 6, this is back in December, I'm like 1,000 floor heroes would end up being about 6,000 crystal a month, and that was when crystal was around 10 cents, 12 cents. So that's like $600, $700 USD. So I remember having the goal of 1,000 floor heroes in the beginning, but I pretty much only got to that goal because of the lucky Gen0 wins that I got from the raffles. I say lucky in quotations. It was luck, but just, you know what I'm saying, it takes some work to create a plan to do it and win. So pretty much I started out with 80 heroes, and I basically started up and summoned up my way to 1,000. And back, as you can see, I was getting around 150 crystal, and it was kind of around 1 crystal per hero per week based off of the hero count. So 147 heroes, around 152 crystals a month. And if you can check back here, you'll see that around this time it was around 17, 18 cents. And that was pretty good numbers in terms of like crystal, just from based off that floor heroes. And that's when I kind of realized, okay, this could actually be something. So I basically started compounding it, and as you see, as the hero count started going up, the crystal amount started going up. And then as you can see, there's some BS takeaways. Here are all my wallets that if you do want to check them out. Got Forager wallet, that's my Forager, second Forager wallet, second Fisher wallet, first Forager wallet, first Fisher wallet. I also have my Jobber wallet right here. As you can see, this is where I hold rares, and yeah, this is my loot wallet that I basically transfer stuff to. And the reason why I have multiple wallets is because after you get, I think it's 250 or 300 heroes, you don't quest on the perfect cycle, so you might be missing like an hour of questing. That's only if you care about optimally questing. You'll split them up into multiple wallets. But yeah, I'm gonna probably link the spreadsheet for you guys, so I'm probably gonna make a neater one. Don't look at the takeaways on the right side. That's just a bunch of like me mentally brainstorming and just writing out my ideas. And that's like me summoning, like, you know what I'm saying, taking profit, just ideas that I had to build up. But as you can see, the weekly heroes per week, you can see them going up from December. You can see tiers as expensive. The takeaways when I'm talking about how tiers was expensive and how tiers alone was getting about a certain amount of crystal. And it keeps going up. It's steady growth, and it keeps going up. But I pretty much want to show you guys here around week 12 where stuff starts to get really crazy. As you can see, I'm getting like 700 crystal a week without counting the tiers. So I'm getting 700 crystal a week, 764 with 768 hero count without counting the tiers. I stopped counting tiers because I was hatching pets for a while. And this is when tiers was actually a pretty drastic amount, and this is when crystal was like 10 cents. So I'm getting around the same amount of crystal per week. But as crystal started to really drop, right around the end of February, this is when the crystal price really started increasing. So as you can see, 930 heroes is getting around 1170 crystal. As you can see, the drop off right here, the drop off is like around 9-10 cents, and then it starts dropping off really crazy. And this is where I want to show you guys right here. 946 hero count, I'm getting around 1200, and this is when the drop off starts to get even worse for crystal, and that's when you're getting more crystal for your items. So I want to show you guys right here. Early March, it starts trending down around 7 cents, and this is when you can see around March that downtrend around 7 cents. I took a couple breaks, right, and it was on a major downtrend. I took a couple breaks, and I was still trying to track it as accurately as I can, right, give or take 10 to 15%. But in the most recent weeks, now I want you to go back to week 20 and week 21 right here, and you can see the last 2 weeks I've been getting around 2,000 to 2,400 crystal, 2,200 and 2,400. It's around 320 to 345 crystal a day, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, because that's a lot of crystal a day. That's almost like 10k crystal a month, right? 8 to 10k crystal a month, and it's pretty insane. But also, this is why I say there's like a 10 to 15% discrepancy, because I don't quest 24/7. I probably quest 22/7. I probably miss like 10 to 15 hours of questing a week, and that's because I use a different bot on a different computer basically, so I don't always check it. I basically use Waifu Bot and with my 1,000 floor heroes on my other wallets, and pretty much before, Waifu Bot would stop every now and then you would have to basically restart it. Simple, right? But if you're using it on a different computer, you're not going to basically be able to always pay attention to it. I have it in the corner of my room, and I have a fan on that wallet, so I don't always check it. And when I do, I probably check it maybe once a day. But sometimes the bot will stop, and it's usually like just one of the bots that will stop. So that's what I'm saying. I probably don't quest fully optimally. So I know that the numbers could be better because I know Pouring from Perilous, he has about 750, 800 floor heroes, he was telling me. And I think he told me he brings in around 300 crystal a day. So these are the numbers, though, that you could probably expect to get around 2,000 to 10,000 crystal. 2,000 crystal a week, around 8,000 to 10,000 crystal a month. There's multiple bots you could use. I use Dfk Helper for my main wallets. I use Waifu for my floor hero wallets, so it doesn't cut into the profit of my floor heroes. I know people that use PyRequester. I know there's a free open source bot by Burnem. He's a community member in DFK, and Pran is willing to give it out to players that wanna use it. So he told me to link his Discord and Twitter, and he'll give it out to people that want to use it. Now, take all the safety precautions that you would with any other bot. Do it on separate wallets. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it on your main wallets, and that's what you do, all the safety precautions that you use. So basically, the reason why this has been even more profitable is that items don't actually go down in DFK as fast as the token price. So if the token price is down like 50%, items are only down like 10 to 20%. So basically, per month, if you do the math, 24.19 times 4, it's around 9.6k crystal a month, which makes the ROI about 5 to 6 months, which is pretty nuts. Like, that's pretty crazy, honestly, because you think about a floor hero, right? You think about a lowly floor hero sitting on the tavern, one of these guys, 44 crystal. Fishing and foraging floor hero, around 60 crystal, 58 crystal. And that's the reason why I kind of had 1,000 floor heroes of the 50, because the Gen0 is like 58k crystal. But if you do the math and you average it out, you're going to get around 1,000 if you just start sweeping the floor because of averages. But you could also get more. You could get more miners, more gardeners. But the thing is, I think you can only have 78 gardeners per wallet questing optimally. And I think you can have 48 miners, or maybe 64. I forgot what the number is, but I think you have a miner, 6 miners on locked, and 6 miners on gold. So there's other people in here that have more floor heroes. You have people that have 2,000 floor heroes. I know in the Twitter poll, I'll link that Twitter poll below, because there's a lot of people talking about different numbers. I know Karake, he has 2,000 floor heroes. Christian Peter has over 2,000 floor heroes. There's a lot of people that have a lot of floor heroes, and they're profiting a lot. And some people sell to Jewels, some people sell into Crystal, some people sell to USDC. And you can basically do whatever you want. You don't have to start it off with 1,000. You can start off with 100, 200, 300, 400. It's just start on a separate wallet so you see your exact numbers. Now, before, I used to not level it up until I had a conversation in here, Degen Dungeon, and people told me basically I should be leveling up my floor heroes. And then I started leveling up, and I kind of seen the difference. I have to agree, it is worth it to level up the heroes. So shout out to the Perilous guys, because I think it was mainly them that were telling me that I should level up my heroes, and I was basically saying, nah, it's not worth it. And then we broke down some math together, and I'm all for the math. If somebody shows me the math, I'll start to do it. So we basically broke down the math, and because Shiva's runes are so cheap, and because even if you do the crystal amounts of 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, the amount it costs to level, even when you resell the hero at level 10, you're going to end up making the money back. Or even if you don't resell the hero, you're going to make the money back. Now, this wasn't talked about, and I don't know if people have talked about it, but when you're at 2,000 XP, you do not get nearly the same amount of eggs. It is, I've 100% tried, true, and tested. You just don't get the same amount of XP for eggs. And that might be because eggs give you so much XP, you have to basically be able to quest more to get the eggs, but either way, that's true. But I'm in hero summons right here because I'm showing you guys that you have to think, right? Tiers are probably not gonna go down, right? And the reason why I say this is that they're gonna probably hold that 0.009 mark, around 1 cent mark, because they have for so long, and there's just a boatload of people summoning. Everybody summons now. So many people summon, so many people hatch, and they've literally been the same price since December. They haven't gone lower than a penny since December, around there. They're maybe slightly under a penny, but they've been that same price. And even if they stay that same price, you're still gonna be profiting tremendously. Now, this may be the best time to actually go for a floor hero army, because of the fact that pet feeding is coming out, and that is a catalyst for items. Now, the reason why I say this is that if everybody starts to do this, things have potential to balance out, and maybe items become less and less. But as the crystal token price downtrends, items have tend to downtrend less. So items will tend to downtrend on like minus 10 to 20%, and then crystal will tend to downtrend like a sort of like 30-40%. So it's usually double the item trend. And if you look here, I know people like to talk about hero inflation and how inflated it is, but if you look here, this is like page 6, page 7, and it only takes about an 800 hero floor sweep to get the floor from 44 to 70. That means there's not really a lot of floor heroes listed. There's only like 700 something floor heroes listed. So, but then also the market will balance out, just like we've seen in the summoning events, and that's basically when the Gen 1 10 out of 10s will end up going up just to match floor heroes. But yeah, I just, you know what I'm saying, simple video. Sorry it took so long, but I just wanted to show you guys the spreadsheet and just show you guys some information, some general talking, nothing too crazy. Hopefully you guys got the takeaways. I'll probably do another thread showing these numbers. So I don't want to move the markets. I know Pouring was already telling me that the thread has already moved the floor hero markets, but yeah, I'll basically link the poll. I'll do another thread, and then I'll probably put this video under the thread, basically just to show, you know what I'm saying, to bring traction to the video. Because some people are easier with numbers. Some people just like the video. Some people are going to be like, yo, why am I listening to this dude talk for a whole 30 minutes about this when I could just look at the thread if you already put numbers? But yeah. Now, basically, this is pretty much it for the video. I want to say this, right? People say Gen 0s have the most upside in the game. And I do want to kind of just go over this, because think about this, right? 3 months ago, Gen 0s were around 30,000 crystal, and you could get about 500 floor heroes, right? Now, 500 floor heroes versus a Gen 0, I think more people would be inclined to take the Gen 0 at that point, but the 1,000 kind of gives more people a instance of like, oh, I'll take the 1,000 floor heroes. But at 500, even with this math, 500 still outperforms the Gen 0, but the Gen 0 was worth more at the time, right? And floor heroes were trending down at that time, right? But there's also a thing where people say that Gen 0s have the most upside, and it is a strange thing, because when you think about it, it's like Gen 0 upside long term bull case, in my bull case, is 10,000 USD, right? A 5x from here, right? But then you look at the 10 out of 10s, right? And you go to the market, okay, what would 10 out of 10's price be, right? If Gen 0s were what? 10,000 USD, let's say crystal was $1, the floor with Gen 0s would rebalance out, and crystal would go down to 10,000 crystal, right? I mean, Gen 0s would go down to 10,000 crystal, right? And then the floor of Gen 1s would be a certain amount of price. Maybe the floor of Gen 1s would be 80 crystal, you know what I'm saying? It's 80 USD. 100 crystal, 100 USD. What do you think the price of floor heroes would be then? That's what I'm saying. Floor heroes would be what? 10 USD? 20 USD? I think that at floor heroes being $1.50 USD for a regular miner gardener, and a fisher and forager being $2.10 USD, about 2.12 cents USD, do floor heroes have the biggest catalyst long term? From here, right now, in a bull market, because if Crystal keeps trending down, we've seen that floor heroes are not going to balance out like Gen Zeros do. But Gen Zeros are going to balance out. If Crystal goes to $1 tomorrow, I mean a penny tomorrow, Gen Zeros will balance out and it'll be around 2,000 USD. But if we think about this, right, floor heroes in a bull market, when we have a new player base of 3,000, 5,000 players, new players, think about it. 10x at this would basically make it so 15, 20 USD, right? That's a 10x. A 10x from a Fisher Forager would be 21 USD. You know what I'm saying? 21.11. Now, my thing is just like, think about, or 2011, right? Think about that. Now, think about this, right? If Crystal is 50 cents, 21.11 times 50 cents Crystal, and that makes it a 42 Crystal floor. My thing is, at these prices of floor heroes might be the biggest catalyst in the game in a bull market. Now, who knows? You know what I'm saying? The beauty of Gen Zeros is that as the listings get lower and lower, they become more scarce and they become drastically more expensive and more sought out for. At a listing count of 22 and 5 on Serendale, that's 27 total listed. It can get scary if a whale comes in and just sweeps about $20,000 worth of Gen Zeros. That's 10 Gen Zeros, and that could be a listing count of like 10 Gen Zeros. And at that point, people can choose whatever price they want to choose. So my thing is, if Crystal keeps downtrending, floor heroes are probably the most optimal to create Crystal every month. But yeah, I'm out. Peace. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now, hopefully everything is not too out of sync. I basically had to do a transcript and voice over the video because the audio got messed up from the second half of the video.